I am CouchCube and welcome to my review of A Plague's Tale Requiem on the PlayStation 5. Currently doing the rounds on the PlayStation Essential Access. You get this included with the subscription costs. It's also currently got a 55% discount on it with Steam, and this is on Game Pass, so you'll be hard pushed to avoid it. What are we looking at? Well, it's the quality mode. The whole of this footage is going to be on that higher resolution but 30 frames per second. Now, this is what happens when you Google the performance of the game on the 5. It tells you that there's no mode toggle on the PlayStation 5. If you've got 120 Hz on your screen, you can get it to 40 frames per second. There's no even mention of the 60, which is sat there in the options. Maybe that was updated very recently, but lesson learned. Don't always listen to Google. Listen to me. The game comes with a great photo mode, and if you're aware of its predecessor, it's always been quite a lavish visual presentation, particularly with the size of that team and how much the original game made an impact on the industry. There was only 40 people. It kind of cleared up the year it came out, and everybody sort of noticed that Plague's Tale was not a small player. Why have I waited so long to review this game over on the PlayStation 5? Well, I'll let into a little secret. I'm not a big fan of this model. This is a puzzler slash sneaker, which is fine, and the action is there, but it's more about that immersion, period, atmospheric, and it's got some absolutely current gen visuals spread all over it. It's a very difficult game not to go wow at all the time.
But why are they burned?
I don't know.
It gives you this like micro vertical slice of what the game's going to be like going forward, and it involves maneuvering around quite frightening enemies, but more importantly unraveling this story, which has kind of got me a little bit intrigued. I love the idea of the plague and people working for and against it. It's got some pretty mad and frightening scenes in it.
Lies! I swear! I don't know what's happening here, but we have nothing to do with it. Lies!
Any hardcore Witcher 3 fans will notice that basket look from the crones in that game. Something about basket heads and Hessian sacks that kind of freaks me out. One of my points with this video is that what this game lacks in hip firing at a group of screaming xenomorphs, it makes up for in really good, tense and beautiful horror undertoned scenes that are quite creepy, and they sort of stay with you. There's a hell of a story arc embedded behind a lot of these locations that you come up to, so that's a real pull.
Mommy will be over here.
Spread out! They must be close!
Understood!
With a creeping stealth game like this, it's going to be very dependent on the enemy AI. Their detection patterns and their wandering arcs and their intelligence is going to be most of what's carrying these scenes. They are incredibly vigilant, and different noises, even doing an attack, even standing up, will give your position away if they're remotely close to you. So that has definitely been tuned up. If you think about a game like Assassin's Creed, just put the video out, or even something like Metal Gear, it is super important that your enemies are aware and can catch you. Otherwise it will just take a lot of the value from the game.
What is this place?
I'm trying really hard to step around as many spoilers as possible. This game is very location progression focused, so you are taken to different areas all around France, and it's important that I don't spoil too much of that location change. That again is another reason to keep playing this game, is to see where this adventure takes you, where you're going to get thrust into next, and what mechanics are going to come from that change.
Run! The house!
There's also a lot of investment in the main protagonist and your sort of helper, friends, partners, family members, the two brothers. It's really well voice acted. I was looking at who played the main character, and she has recently voiced some Final Fantasy characters, and the two kids could have been super annoying, especially the youngest one, and that's handled quite well. They aren't too grating. But it's this sort of stuff you're seeing now, throttling blokes with a leather strap, throwing stones at people's heads and setting fire to stuff. It was really opening my eyes to not just being a sneaking puzzle game. This is a spectacular opening front end.
I can't believe we made it.
Are the people nice here?
I'll teach you to kill my men.
The detail on everyone's face, the attire, and the reflections in some of this in-town footage is completely mind-blowing. And I'm always thinking, when I'm watching stuff like this, is like, this is what Remnant from the Ashes 5 is going to look like. It's going to be like this, but you can get cover and fire a machine gun. Every bullet impact will be mapped and vases will pop. The future's going to be amazing. But the truth is, this isn't Remnant from the Ashes 5, and I think half the reason they can get away with such beauty within these cities is because it quite literally is walking simulated, not too much interaction, and you certainly can't use your slingshot against one of the fishmongers. It may not be too noticeable to some people, but we still have HDR bleed out on capture from a PlayStation 5 using that SharePlay software. Please get on top of this. We're on like year 5 of it, and I can only apologise to the capture connoisseurs among you, but once we get indoors, once we start looking at some of these beautiful rays of lights coming through the cracks in the corridors, and the macabre now starts. So this is the third real pillar for the game. You've got stealth, you've got beauty, and then you've got gore.
I heard something.
I do want to mention, and I think this is part of the genre, but this game loves the old push and pull a cart around to get on top of a sort of higher platform, and dragging the carts and turning them around corners, which the game does promote quite a lot. Sometimes when you're halfway through the third task of pushing and pulling a cart, you start thinking to yourself, the game designers need to grab hold of something else, but I just think it comes with the territory. Using objects and furniture to work out puzzles is really one of the main staples for a puzzle like this. But as you can see, the tension is palpable, with like Outlast style hiding under beds, and you also see this in Evil Within, and because that AI is ramped so well, you're genuinely not sure if they're gonna rock straight up and clock you. Let's talk about attacks and attacking, because you're not the most passive of protagonists. You've got a sling, you start getting involved with fire, and there's also dust and smoke. There's a lot of tools at your disposal, and you also have one-off use knives, a little bit like The Last of Us, where you can shiv an individual and just get the numbers down. There's also dead body detection, so that you can move things around. People will detect if you leave a mess, so there's a little bit of that Far Cry disposal, keep it clean thing going on.
Lucas, crossing this mess won't be easy or quick.
It's the Order. A High Magister would just live in a high tower, no?
So swinging back to that gore pillar, here's one of the other reasons this game is so famous. Liquid killer rat mechanics. I think that's the best way to explain it, and the original game very much pushed on this aspect of, think of it like killer water that exists on the surface. Left 4 Dead meets rats. Light is the only thing that repels it, and the major mechanic for the game is to use these to your advantage, or work out puzzles in and around light, fire, explosives to get rid of these damn things.
Hugo, they're here for him. Yes, that will hold.
These are the sort of things I wanted that quality mode on for, and I want to see that light bouncing around. There is, however, a bit of a trade-off with that. What you've been seeing up till now is quite outsidey, quite colourful, and you have to go down deep into cellars and dungeons and crypts and prisons and work out loads of puzzles that are indoor that use this amazing light mechanic, and the rats are flying off every flat surface available to them. Now, Forbidden West fell into this trap badly for me, but that was a lot worse because it had a beautiful sunlit open world and would constantly put you into caves and dungeons, ignoring some of their spectacular game design. With this, it's more of an on-rails puzzler. A lot of this stuff is intentional and scenic, so it kind of does work for me. What also works for me are the variations on the combat gear that you get later on. When talking about Horizon, it's got that on-the-fly crafting system and a really intuitive way of mixing up from stone or combustible. You start making grenades and getting to stealth kill a lot of the guys with your shiv, so it's not all scuttling away and avoiding. There is also a full-on horde scene where she just loses it and tries to kill a whole bunch of them. That was seriously enjoyable.
Yes! Yes! Ah! How'd you like that, huh? When someone fights back!
There are too many! They'll keep coming if we don't go!
Ah! Go if you want! This is my ground now! This is where they die! Ah!
That kid that you've got with you, you kind of drag along behind you. So you have to be very careful that the rats don't sweep in and grab them, because that is also game over. So it does have that little bit of Ashley trauma in there for me, because you're worrying about two people and you do have to delegate. The guy gets phosphorus firepower later on and you get to ignite things or look around a scene to see if either of you can help work a puzzle out. But talking of looking around a scene, and every time I get fatigued with pushing or pulling something or turning a damn crank, then the kid having to turn one at the other side of some arena, it puts a scene like this in front of you.
Oh, no, don't tell me.
Yes. I got something in my mouth.
I said hold your breath.
I panicked.
I did also want to mention how important is it to have played the previous game to enjoy this story. They do make a reference to a lot of what went down with Innocent, but I feel that as a fresh player to this series, which is essentially what I am, I don't really feel sidelined or excluded with that subject matter. The whole thing's coming in at another angle with new locations and stumbling across the ports or the wrecked town areas or seeing all of the corpses and disaster that follows this plague is totally amazing. I did also want to mention that they haven't skipped on the haptic feedback. It's got loads of weird little rattles when the rats come on screen and you can feel the swing of the slingshot. It also sits very comfortably on the SSD with minimal load times. Everything just flashes up and comes to you quickly. It's definitely got that 10th gen feel, and it's also, remember, available on the Essential subscription service for this month.
Wait a second. This is no time for revenge.
He had to go anyway.
Stop! Foul creatures.
We've got company! We've got company! Found them! Don't let them escape!
I'm careful enough.
Somewhere around here.
We have to hide.
Last.
They found us.
Visually, I'm completely in love with it, and it's one of my favourite looking games to have come out of 2022. So it does have some age on it, but it very much does resonate with me. Beautiful woodlands and almost Resident Evil-like set pieces and mist. Absolutely awesome stuff. Atmospherically, there's not much out there that looks as good as this that's a puzzler. The whole time I'm sat in a bunch of flower beds though, listening to enemy AI chit-chat to each other as I sort of maneuver around their detection circles. I'm thinking I should be finishing Metal Gear Solid 5. But I think if this genre, these visuals and all that dialogue, really cool voice acting, and the idea that this is really 80% puzzles with some quite exciting combat thrown in there, it might be a cup of tea if you lean to that sort of game model. Talking of fun video game models, I've just put a video out about a 2D side-scrolling local co-op MOBA called Awesome Noughts Assemble. I would recommend a look. That was a bit of a back burner. I will link my Metal Gear Solid 5 in the description and annotate because that game still smashes it. I shall see you all down there. Like and sub.
Don't go any further, Amici.